Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes this day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
If I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These
Hello, let me scoot over. Hello everyone, how are you doing? Oh, my shirt's a little crooked too. I'm looking all prim and proper, aren't I? All right, it's almost like a pilgrim shirt. I hope you are doing well. And we are continuing in the tradition maybe of more, well, I can't be more often because I pretty much stream every night, but shorter shows so you don't have to dedicate your entire night. Along the bottom is the grifting. I really do need your support. If you enjoy this type of content, you know, there's always an ebb and flow with sponsorships, but I'm always looking for patrons. It's patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty, or if you'd like, all super chats matter. If you can throw me a tip now and then, I truly, truly appreciate it. And let me see if I put this on the right thing. Let's talk about my sponsor, or one of my sponsors, Asteros, who is a cyber, my black shirt's kind of hiding it. There we go. Is it here? No, it's this way. Yeah, I can't do this backwards thing. But Asteros.com, who is a cyber, I'm gonna see if I can move that. Nope, it's not letting me move it. I wanted to move it up higher. But anyway, it's a cybersecurity company. If you go to asteros.com/free, they could give your online organization or business a free surface penetration audit, as I like to say.
boom chicka wow wow.
But asteros.com/free, please, please support my sponsors.
That's what she said.
All right. Enough with the dirty jokes about my sponsors. They know what they're getting into at my show. We're going to get into the history tonight, but I want to show you something that I pulled out of the vault. Now, this is out of order, and I'm paranoid again. I just got done with dinner. I don't have food in my teeth, do I? Nope. Just wanted to make sure. I am always so paranoid about that. But I pulled this out of the history box, and even though this isn't 1970s, there's been a lot of interest in this program because it's something I brought up a lot. And look what I got here. Oh, I'm still on green screen. Let's turn that green screen off. I did this before because I did the Anarchist show last night. Let's turn this off. Okay. So I've got a little mailer here for Project Archimedes. So my next history show, even though this isn't from the 70s, just because there's so much interest in this, I'm doing a revived version of it, which has been tried before too, by the way. There's been a revived Project Archimedes in maybe 2012, 2013. This was back in 1999-ish, 2000. I don't think there's a date on it, but I think I'm pretty right about the date. We're gonna go over this. This is when Steve Dasbach was chair, and we'll see if we can figure out a date in here, but probably our next show. So I'm gonna leave this right here so I don't forget it. But today we're gonna continue with the LP news from July, August 1974. And just because of a little bit of a changed schedule I have, most of my shows are going to be around 8:30 or 9 o'clock. So I have a feeling the live audience isn't going to be quite as large because East Coast people, it's kind of late, but they can watch it afterwards. But enough of that. Let's get right to the show. And hello, Tyler. Your comment didn't show up here because you commented before the stream started, but I see you. I see you. All right, now let's see what we covered last time. I know we didn't do news from state parties. I'm pretty sure we covered everything about the convention, which we did. Let's see here. One second, I probably should have decided before we started what we're going to cover. But I'm going to do that right now. Okay, we're going to go to... No, we want to... Right here. Libertarian candidates contest election. So this is on page 5 of the July-August LP News. And it's densely packed. There's a lot of information here. But we're going to go through it, and this is all we're going to cover tonight. But you can see that we were contesting elections even back in the 70s. And by the way, I have gotten from the credentialing committee chair the most updated delegate list, or the final delegate list, the delegate list that you're allowed to request under the LP bylaws. So if you've been waiting to request that, I do have it. Send me an email at secretary@lp.org and I'll get it to you. That's just a little aside of official business. The rest of the show is not official business, but I figured while I had your attention, I would let you know. All right, Alaska. And check him out there in Alaska in the left-hand column. He's a cutie pie. So Paul Beard, LP state chairman, is running for a seat in U.S. House of Rep. Alaska is where we had a lot of success early on. Dick Randolph was elected in Alaska, and I believe he was the first libertarian that was under the Libertarian Party rubric that got elected to a state legislature. There was that gentleman from Idaho, the apple farmer from Idaho. His name is escaping me at the moment, who was an anarcho-capitalist. He later defected, but technically, because we didn't have ballot access, we just started, he was the first libertarian elected. Sims, I think his name was. But he wasn't officially running as an L. This guy was. This guy, Dick Randolph. I mean, this guy was too, but the guy who got elected, who I think was in 74, was running as an L. All right. Beard is currently National Director of Citizens for Equality in Medicine, a libertarian consumers group. Candidate activities so far included newspaper, television, and radio interviews. Also planned are debate with Beard's Democratic rival, sponsored by the Taxpayers Defense League, 2 booths at state fairs, and the appearance of income tax opponent Willis Stone, who was the chairman of the Liberty Amendment Committee, in 2 of Alaska's largest cities. Donations, and it gives the address. Moving on to California. This is going to be a speed round, baby. The party standard bearer is gubernatorial candidate John Hospers. We know him. See story on page 1. We're not going to do that story today. That will be another day. William C. White, candidate for U.S. Senator, spoke at Monterey Peninsula College on gun control and drug control last May and spoke to the staff of a Sears Roebuck store. I haven't heard it called Sears Roebuck in forever. Boy, like that brings back some memories. It was Sears Roebuck. Wasn't it Jackson Penny? Jackson something Penny, because I know it turned into J.C. Penney's and then just Pennies. But I think it was Jackson something Pennies. And no, Jackson was something. What was J.C. Penney? What was the full name of J.C. Penney? I'm thinking of Jackson Byron's. And then there was Montgomery Ward. Wow, we're going back in the past. All right, Sears Roebuck store in Orange County on individual liberty and morality in government in mid-July. He intends to participate actively in the Sears Meet the Candidate program. Wow. So Sears Roebuck was doing a Meet the Candidate program. White has also addressed several taxpayers groups, meeting with a favorable reception. He has had an article published in the newsletter of the Citizens for Marijuana Reform in Santa Clara County. The White campaign has also completed the important technical step of filing for election in all 58 California counties, thus alerting county clerks to count write-in votes for White. There are only 58 counties in California. Is that the same today? Because there's more counties than that, I think, in Colorado. And Colorado is not as big as California. David Bergland, LP candidate for Attorney General, told a rally in Wilmington on July 18th, the list of victimless crimes is so long and comprehensive that almost everyone is guilty of something. Bergland noted that the broad scope of these laws, plus the limited resources available for law enforcement, means that victimless crime laws were usually enforced against unpopular groups, especially homosexuals and persons with long hair. Long-haired freaky people need not apply. And the sign said. The Bergland campaign can be reached, and it gives its information. Other California LP candidates are Bill Sussel for Lieutenant Governor, Veronica Midas for Secretary of State, Lloyd Taylor for State Treasurer, and Kathy White for Controller. I wonder if Kathy White is related to William White. Colorado, John B. James, the guy who designed the Tanstaffel logo, the Liber sign, is running for representative in Washington of the 1st District. Okay, that's just worded very weird. In Denver. He is concentrating on the issues of taxation and inflation, which he calls a heavy and unnecessary burden on all of us. James, a former state LP vice chairman, I did not know he was former vice chair of Colorado, has produced what looks to be an effective leaflet to promote his candidacy. Contributions should be sent, and it gives an address. Moving on. Louisiana, Dr. Jeremy Millett, former LP state chairman, announced his candidacy for the U.S. House of Representatives. He would represent the 7th District, Acadiana? I don't know how to pronounce these Louisiana names. Sorry. Acadiana, I think is the way that's pronounced. In his announcement, Millett said that the present incumbent has voted for big spending bills, for more restrictions on the lives of us all, for further presidential irresponsibility and foreign wars. Does that sound familiar? You know, as King Solomon said, there is nothing new under the sun. There must be equal rights for all, special privileges for none, Millett said. I believe individual liberty is our great political heritage and opportunity. The party is also fielding Jeff Dial, and I'm pretty sure I know him. I think he's still like on Facebook now. Am I thinking of a different person? I'm pretty sure I know him. For Commissioner of Public Safety in Shreveport. Minnesota gubernatorial candidate Richard Kleinow is past chairman of the state LP. In his campaign, he has called for a new amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The amendment would prohibit Congress from passing laws restricting the activities of production, exchange, and consumption of or any other human activity which does not involve the initiation of force or fraud. Wouldn't that be fantastic? We can dream, can't we? No, we can't? Yeah, we can. Kleinow points out that the state usury law is not only a violation of individuals' economic rights. Such setting of legal maxims, or it's like really weird wording on this, on interest rates simply drives loanable funds into states which do not have such restrictions. Kleinow has been interviewed by the St. Paul Pioneer Press and by a smaller alternative newspaper, the Daily American. He has been invited to appear with other gubernatorial candidates in October at the University of Minnesota to answer questions from members of the faculty, with then an address to send donations. Nevada, James Burns, Jim Libertarian Burns. If you don't know the story, he changed his name legally so the word libertarian would appear on the ballot. Changed his name to Jim Libertarian Burns. The founder of the Nevada chapter of the Society for Individual Liberty and temporary Nevada, or is it Nevada? Nevada? I can't remember the right way to pronounce that. Nevada. It's Nevada. Okay. Burns has run as a Republican because of the restrictions of the state election code. His campaign literature nonetheless features the LP and protests the ballot monopoly of the Democrats and Republicans. Okay, 1 second here. I need to refresh something. Window. All right, here we go. New Hampshire. And down at the bottom, there's a picture of Louisiana's Jeremy Millett. Okay, New Hampshire Arthur, why do I have such a hard time with that name? Arthur Ketchen, the vice chairman of the state LP, is in the race for the Republican nomination for representative to the General Court. Wow, that's a strange name. State legislature from District 12. He hopes to orient his campaign toward the young who have not so far been encouraged to participate in New Hampshire politics. He is 23. Toward the old and the childless who are exploited by heavy taxes for education, and toward middle-class taxpayers who are hit hard for local taxes to fund services they don't get. And donation information. That's going to follow after each name. I'm not going to mention that each time. New Jersey, Robert Steiner, past chairman of the state LP. It looks like all these past chairmen and past vice chairmen are running. And first vice president of the Federation of New Jersey Taxpayers is putting in a bid to represent the 12th congressional district. His campaign literature stresses his links with the revolt of the fed-up taxpayers. New York, the major LP effort in the Empire State, is the struggle to obtain 50,000 votes for the party's gubernatorial candidate, Jerome Tuccelli. And there's a story on him on page 1 that we'll get to in another episode. Percy L. Greaves, Jr., author of the recently published book, Understanding the Dollar Crisis, is the party's challenger to liberal Republican Jacob Javits, the senior senator from the state. Sanford Cohen, otherwise known as Sandy Cohen, we see quite a bit, of Poughkeepsie, is trying to replace Republican Representative Hamilton Fish Jr. The Cohen campaign has now collected 3 times the petition signatures required to be placed on the ballot. Cohen, who got an early start in the campaign itself in order to facilitate public recognition, has received extensive coverage in the local media. His campaign staff also has been issuing a campaign newsletter filled with fascinating how-to information on electioneering. When Cohen accepted the nomination of the New York State's Free Libertarian Party, he said, "It's time to return to the spirit of '76. It's time to give America back to all the people. It's time to restore property rights, individual liberties, and the free enterprise system." Joseph Gentelli is the candidate for representative from the 16th Congressional District in Brooklyn. He has received the endorsement of the Republican and Conservative parties. In New York, there is a party called the Conservative Party. Other FLP candidates include Virginia Shields Walker, a state assembly candidate who has made condemnation via eminent domain a political controversy in Suffolk County, and veteran campaigner Guy Riggs, an assembly aspirant from the Poughkeepsie area. Riggs says in a lengthy but readable campaign statement, "No politician, of course, would come right out and say, I want to do things for you guys at the expense of those guys by taxing them, restraining their peaceful behavior, or both. Yet for decades now, the successful politician has been the one who could propose just that, but in words making him sound like a champion of decency." Sounds about right. Riggs concludes his statement by telling his prospective supporters, "Send me to Albany in '74 so you'll have something to celebrate in '76. The FLP has also endorsed Louis Cecilia for Lieutenant Governor, Leland Schubert for Attorney General, Dr. Robert Flanzer for Comptroller, Alan LePage for the 70th Assembly District, Stuart A. Fiegel for the 20th State Senatorial District, also backed by Republicans and Conservatives, and Lawrence Penner for a seat on the New York City Council, also backed by the Republicans. Ohio, Kathleen G. Haroff, candidate for the U.S. Senator, running against astronaut John Glenn. I didn't know John Glenn ran for office. Maybe I did. Appeared in a talk show in Cincinnati. On the program, she came out against all foreign aid in favor of, back then, we did not hesitate to call it isolationism rather than non-interventionism, in favor of isolationism and neutrality in foreign policy, for pulling all U.S. troops and equipment back into this country, for getting Social Security out of the hands of the government, and opposition to any national health care program. She said in answer to a question that the state's 55-mile-per-hour speed limit was absurd, that compulsory school attendance laws should be ended, and that taking from the rich to give to the poor was theft. Running on actual libertarian statements. Go figure. There will be people clutching their pearls. One person there, a Democrat, said she sounded like a populist. Haroff has been busy addressing ethnic groups, Irish Americans, German Americans, etc., prison reform groups, and numerous talk shows. Oregon, Paul Ferdner is campaigning for a seat in the state legislature representing District 18. His literature asks Oregonians to vote for a tax reducer, not a tax user. On the issue of mass transit, Ferdner says the present system of franchises and common carrier licensing stifles creative and innovative solutions to transit problems. A free enterprise approach would allow mass transit to develop to meet the consumer's needs with greater efficiency and less cost. Texas, Dr. Ron Paul has decided to take on the Democratic incumbent of 16 years in a race for U.S. Representative from the 22nd District in Houston. Paul says that if the policies of welfare warfare spending are not halted, honest work won't be worth anything but pain shortly. He has also been backed by the Republicans. Utah, Carl Bray will be running for U.S. Representative from the 11 County 2nd District, which includes Salt Lake City. Bray, who was the choice of 1/10 of the Republicans polled on their choice for the GOP nomination, has become well known to the public because of his leadership as a tax rebel. Reviving a question that has potential in many Western states, he also favors opening all federal lands to homesteaders. Bray told the state LP convention in July that the party is the first and last political hope for men who want to be free of political and economic bondage. In the House of Representatives, he said he would figure out how, as quickly as possible, to disband our monopolistic, predatory, destructive government. Yay! Jeannie Trevathan has entered the race to unseat the incumbent sheriff in Salt Lake County. A decorating consultant, she calls for adopting a recall act, making all Utah officials subject to recall, and says that if she is elected sheriff, no more officials will interpose their ideas of law, when such a law would violate the rights guaranteed in the U.S. and Utah constitutions. Lastly, Washington State. LP State Chairman Skip Barron from the Olympic Peninsula and Richard Diamond from Queen Anne District in Seattle are seeking seats in the state legislature. So we were hitting the ground running, and I want to make sure there weren't any other candidates, because the way this printed out double-sided, and it's a pain in my booty. So I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything, but I don't think so. If I did, it would be on page 6, because that was page 5. Nope. That is it. This is a jam-packed issue. All right. You can look forward to talking about Project Archimedes in the future, though I'm not so sure I have a scan of this. I might need to scan it first, so it might not be the next show, because I do need to scan this, and it's so shiny with it being laminated. I might just read it rather than... Nah, there's some charts on here you guys are going to want to see of rollout results. Well, this is something we will be covering, but I do have to scan it, so it might not be the next show, because I might run down here just in time for the show and go, oh, crap, I didn't scan this. All right, guys, that is it for tonight. Love you guys that come for just hearing about our party history. I've got a lot to do, though. Busy getting ready for the LNC meeting at the end of the month. So I have motions to write, reports to write. And I think I said earlier, but if I didn't, I'll say it now. There probably may not happen, but there probably will not be shows Tuesday and Wednesday. I have some prior engagements that may make it just not possible. The weeks leading up to an LNC meeting always can be pretty busy, but even if I just hop on for a few minutes, I will try. But I have a historical preservation committee meeting tomorrow, and then a couple other meetings. And a prior engagement on Wednesday evening. But if I can't see you Tuesday and Wednesday, hopefully I will see you Thursday. So I hope you all have an awesome night. Thank you.
Given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business.